Holla ballers, what's going on? It's the Moonkin, yes! And yeah, I think Moonkin Farm sucks, that's why I'm using the glyph. We've got a lot to get through with this one, so I'm going to preface it by saying, quite frankly, this is the most interesting spec you can play in Mists of Pandaria, and I say that without a shadow of a doubt. If you want to get better at this game, as a caster especially, try a Moonkin. Even as an alt, it's going to teach you so much about environment and awareness and planning things. I can't even get through it. So we're going to jump straight into the talents, and then I'm going to get to that kind of discussion. First and foremost, your movement speed. I just love feline swiftness. I said this in every Druid video. I just love having passive, fast movement, especially as a Moonkin, as we do a lot of things with Lunar Shower, which allows us to move. You can see I'm getting this Lunar Shower buff here. I like being able to move around and take advantage of that. We can do things on the move as a Moonkin. We're not stranded in place. There's a lot of things we can be doing. So I like that. Although there is an opportunity there for the wonderful wild charge, just bounding backwards, getting out of there. Be a little bit careful if you are max range, which a lot of casters like to get themselves in max range. That wild charge can in fact throw you out of range of doing DPS. That's always a pain in the ass. Your level 31, it's going to be renewal of Ysera's gift, really. I hope I'm saying that correctly. It's because the Ysera's gift generally will give you the most healing over the duration of a fight, and it's passively just doing it. Renewal will save your ass, though. Okay, the healers are having a little bit of trouble. Your tank's in danger. Something like that is going on. You got caught with your pants down. You've got your dick in the pie. Now you need a renewal to pull that out of there and be a nice, safe one. Level 45 doesn't matter. Typhoon is generally the go-to, as we do tend to have some form of CC requirement in Siege of Orgrimmar, okay? There are things that need knocking back. There are things that need gathering. All that kind of stuff comes in handy with Typhoon. Right, DPS cooldowns. People are going to be a little bit whingy on this, so I'm going to state the numbers scientifically, and then I'm going to tell you my explanation. First of all, single target, straight up single target, going to killing that one boss and not giving a shit about anything else. Force of Nature is the victor in that case, okay? Force of Nature will bring home the bacon. However, Incarnation is a very, very close second, and it doesn't fuck you up when it comes to doing some AoE. Now, most of you will know that doing some form of AoE is required inside of the raids, okay? If you're doing Siege of Orgrimmar, you need to be doing some form of AoE. The Chosen of Elune, improved Moonkin form that gains 25% increased arcane and nature damage while Eclipse is active. That is so awesome. As we're moving into the Siege of Orgrimmar, your item level is going to be increasing. You're going to be in Eclipse state all the fucking time. I cannot even express it enough. You're going to be outside of Eclipse form for not very long, alright? Moving down to level 75, doesn't matter. Ursols tends to be the go-to. It really does need to be the Ursols. Again, it's for that CC, that extra gathering of the mobs, improving people's AoE. A lot of people think it's just like a PvP kind of thing. It really isn't. If you've got to be dropping a Hurricane or an Astral Storm on some bad boy, you want to make sure those adds are all gathered up and they're inside of that. Ursol's Vortex is a fantastic tool to do that. If you know the mobs are capable of being affected by Ursol's Vortex, then you want to be trying to use it, okay? It helps your tanks out, keeps the mobs gathered. Your tanks will not mind if you drop an Ursol's on top of them and they're tanking those adds. It stops things just straying away. It keeps them all nice and close. It's really cool. At level 90, you do again have some choices. You can have some Nature's Vigil, some Burst. A lot of people preferring the Nature's Vigil. If you do take the Nature's Vigil, your opener tends to start in Solar, which is always worth noting that your opener does change if you're going to use the Nature's Vigil. Not a lot of people picking the Dreamer Scenarios. Increase the healing touch by 20%. Who gives a shit? Right? Okay, so there are some opportunities there to do a little bit of more passive helping other people. But most of the time, you're going to rock the Heart of the Wild, just giving you that extra 6% intellect, 6% stam. A lot of people really don't pick up on the fact that you get a shitload more HP, which will keep you alive longer. And a living Moonkin does a ton more damage. You also have your cooldowns there, should they be required if you want to pop and do some big healing, something like that. Heart of the Wild is there to rescue you, doing all that kind of stuff for you. But it's the big passive extra intellect that we'll be picking up from there from Heart of the Wild, alright? Let's look at our glyphs very briefly. Your glyphs, shit. They're just shit. I can't even express it. Your glyphs are fucking bullshit, man. They're so bad. So I'm just going to tell you what is generally considered. Glyph of Stampede. You can now cast Stampeding Roar while without being in bear or cat form. Great. Awesome. Thanks, Glyph. Okay, it is useful. It saves me a key binding. Woo! Glyph of Dash is one that I take. I love Dash if I need to get out of an emergency situation, but I wouldn't take that in favor of one I'm going to tell you later. And Glyph of Rebirth. Players resurrected by Rebirth return to life with 100% health. You can't really ask for better than that in your hybrid role. Okay, the other Glyph I would recommend is actually just not even on our server right now, which is a pain in the ass. This thing is mandatory, which makes it kind of sad that I don't have it. I'm going to pick it up as soon as I possibly can, or maybe I'll have to craft it myself like a fucking dog. But Glyph of Stampeding Roar is mandatory. You're going to swap out your Glyph of Dash ASAP for this one. Increase the radius of Stampeding Roar by 30 yards. That is immense, people. I cannot stress it enough. It is immense. It is so good. Okay, Stampeding Roar is the most powerful, next to Bloodlust, raid cooldown going at the moment. You will only appreciate it if you start using Stampeding Roar on cooldown. The DPS benefits of Stampeding Roar for an entire raid, especially in the 25-mans, is exceptional. Absolutely exceptional. You minor glyphs, who gives a shit? Glyph of Stars, because Moonkin Farm looks stupid. Everybody rage. Okay, gearing. This is one of the only times, okay? I don't like doing this because I like people to make decisions and stuff, but this is one of the only classes where it's actually viable to go to Ask Mr. Robot. The website Ask Mr. Robot, and ask it to take a look at your character and work out your gemming. The reason for that is because of the haste caps, and occasionally you'll run into a scenario where having one haste gem or a couple of pure haste gems is actually very beneficial towards the way your character is set up, alright? Now, the way Moonkids work is very simple. You want enough haste in order to grant extra ticks of Moonfire and Sunfire. But everything in between that is a waste of haste, okay? It's absolutely useless to you. You want to be hitting these soft haste caps. A good thing to do is get an add-on like Reforged Light. That's going to say, do you want this haste cap or the other haste cap? Then double check with Ask Mr. Robot, who's going to tell you whether you're capable of reaching the higher haste cap, alright? That's the simple idea behind it. Your gemming is going to revolve as much as possible around critical strike. You only want as much haste as to reach these soft haste caps. Now again, Ask Mr. Robot and check Reforged Light to work that out for you, because every single point of haste in between those haste caps is useless to you. So you want as much critical strike as possible. So you can see Spirit Crit. If you're picking up a nice set bonus, go ahead and do that. So 180 intellect, yeah, okay, I'm going to use a mixed gem. If I've got a pure yellow slot, if I find one there, you can see there, I've got dual crafting, so I've picked up the big intellect gem, but a pure crit gem, picking up another 180 intellect, using that mixed gem and all that kind of stuff, okay? But you can see in my boots, it's well worthwhile sticking in a pure haste gem. As you can see all the way through the rest of the character, I've got pure crit gems, but sticking that one haste gem in there actually allowed me to easily hit the soft haste cap while allowing me to focus a hell of a lot more on critical strike rating, okay? So that is the idea behind that. That's what you want to be doing. Simple as that. Let's talk about how you play this. Right, why is crit so important? Shooting stars. Shooting stars. So if you're not interested in how to play your class, go ahead and tune out now, because this stuff's going to be a little bit interesting for me, maybe not so much for you. Shooting stars is like so fucking crucial at higher end playing. You're going to be using shooting stars far more than you're actually going to be casting Wrath and some Starfire. I mean that wholeheartedly. Shooting stars and obviously Star Surge, which procs from it, works in a way that allows you to regenerate so much energy so quickly that you'll be swapping eclipses like a boss. Now, as such, this means you're going to be needing to keep your dots up 100% of the time. 100% comes with a little caveat. Now, what I want you to see there is that Star Surge actually extended the duration of both dots. So what do we know? We know that when we're in, say, Luna, I'm in Luna right now, that if I just stick a Moonfire on, if I'm in Luna, then when I crit with my Starfire, like that, it extends the duration of my Moonfire. What that will not do is extend the duration of my Sunfire. What will do that is your Star Surge. Okay, your Star Surge works alongside that. Now, what can happen very often, guys, is in fact you'll be DPSing away like normal, you'll be doing the usual business, everything's having a good old time, and then suddenly you start getting shooting stars procs. Now, the question is, do you finish your cast or not? This is going to be a hotly debated topic. For me, I actually have, and I'm not bullshitting you on this one, if I can pull it up quickly, if I can find it, is I actually use a stop casting macro for my shooting stars. Now, that is because of this. Okay, if I can target this. You see this here, this quartz. It tells me when that cast is going to go off according to the server. And I can make decisions based on how long have I got remaining on this Starfire compared to how long it will take me to instantly fire off the Shooting Stars proc and then recast that Starfire should I want to do it, or the Wrath incrementally. If you are not comfortable in making the decision and actually paying attention to how long in seconds you have per cast, don't be trying to use something like a stop casting macro, because you're going to end up fucking yourself, alright? It's only for people who are really comfortable with that. What you can do is just make the simple decision is while you're DPSing, is to just wait till you finish your cast. If you're not comfortable with it, you want to wait till you finish your cast to use your Shooting Stars. I'm probably not going to get a proc right now, which would be hilarious to say the least. What I will say though is this is a primary starter if you're just starting out with your Moonkin, is you want to use your Shooting Stars as soon as possible, because this happens. They can chain proc. As you can see, I'm getting a lot of chain procs. And when those things crit, which is why we're gearing heavily for critical strike, is it actually extends the duration of both dots. And that actually then incrementally works alongside the idea that we no longer need to be worrying too much about refreshing our dots at the end of a cycle just before an eclipse. Okay, so the biggest problem that a lot of Moonkins get into is they put their dots up and they're DPSing away and they're having a fun old time, but your dots are about to run out and you have to make that choice. Do I put my dots back on or not, or do I wait? With these Shooting Stars procs and high critical strike, these dots will be extending themselves naturally. As such, you don't really run into that problem anymore. Okay, that's why your critical strike rating is really, really important, and how that Shooting Stars comes into effect. Another notice to put out here, if you're a couple of casts away from hitting Eclipse, be aware that you have Euphoria. While not in an Eclipse state, your Wrath and Starfire and Star Surge spells generate double the normal amount of solar and lunar energy. Okay, so while you're not in an Eclipse, don't be a couple of casts from Eclipse. Let's see if I can just get there quickly. Like so many people are, is being just a couple of casts away from Eclipse and then thinking to themselves, but my dots have fallen off, okay? So you might be panicking in this scenario. I've only got a couple of seconds left. You have to make the choice round about here. I'm not in an Eclipse and I have no dots on. What is my solution here? Be aware that when you hit an Eclipse, you're going to cast that empowered dot first. So what I might do in this scenario is put the Sunfire on and then keep DPSing. And then I'm going to hit that, and that's immediately activate my Moonfire, okay? So that's the way I'm thinking about it. All these kind of decisions, and this is why this spec is so interesting. There's lots and lots of decision-making going on with this bad boy. Let me try and explain it for you in a basic state of how you play this thing. First and foremost, your opener. So we're going to do a little bit of Astral Communion. It's a wonderful, wonderful spell, your Astral Communion. We're going to use that. So you're about to fight your boss, your big-ass boss, whether it's LFR, whether it's normal mode raiding, and you're using the talent setup I'm using. Remember, this changes to Solar if you're using Nature's Vigil. You're going to get yourself to here. That is one Star Surge, one Wrath away from hitting Lunar Eclipse, okay? So we're about to start. Now, the whole purpose of this is we actually gain a free Starfall. And Starfall does a shit ton of damage. So we'll be stood in front of the boss. We're ready to kick some ass. We're going to pop our Starfall. We're going to fire off our Wrath, whatever it might be. We're going to pop our Incarnation. We're going to put our dots on. We're going to get our Star Surge going. And now we're going to... See here, I'm tracking my Starfall. Okay, that's how long my Starfall has. So what I'm going to do is wait till I run out of lunar energy. Then I'm going to pop my big cooldown. And then I'm going to refresh those dots. And then I've got a third Starfall waiting for me, okay? Now, I want you to be tracking this as well, okay? You really do need to be tracking your Celestial Alignment. So when it's got 3, 2, 1, refresh, and that's going to be double super powerful eclipsed dots, okay? Now we're working towards Solar. So that is your opener. That is how it's going to work, as simple as that. All the time, keeping Star Surge and Shooting Stars on cooldown as much as humanly possible. As you're transferring through Eclipse, as you're transferring through your Eclipse states, every time you hit a new Eclipse like Solar or Lunar, you'll get this big buff, Nature's Grace. You want to use your powerful dot first, then apply your weaker dot, okay? Bear in mind that when you're transferring Eclipses very quickly, don't overwrite the super powerful dot, even though it seems to be natural instinct that that is now weaker, okay? Don't want to be doing that. Bear in mind which dots you have active at the time. Again, this scenario where your dots run out, I'm one cast away from hitting the next Eclipse. Every time you hit Lunar, of course, pop your Starfall. Now, the reason we use the weaker dot second is in fact, although they have the same duration, we're going to likely be critting with Starfire or Wrath, depending on your Eclipse, and that's likely going to be extending the duration of the main primary dot, and very quickly your primary dot, from whatever Eclipse you're in, will be longer than the actual weaker dot, okay? So you're going to have that wonderful synergy going on again. Let's talk about AoE. It's gone are the days of multi-dotting. Bear in mind that doing anything outside of an Eclipse is a massive waste of testicular fortitude, okay? It's a huge waste of balls. Don't do it. Get into an Eclipse as fast as humanly possible, whatever that method will be. You are generally completely useless if you're not in an Eclipse. So if we've got 2 or 3 targets, you're going to put your primary dot on first, and then you're going to put on your weaker dot second, okay? Try and keep them under Nature's grace. Now, there is a nerf towards how Shooting Stars works with this. Now, what you're generally going to be doing is moving around, just spreading these dots around, and keep these dots ticking. And we're actually relying on our Shooting Stars now to, in fact, transfers between Eclipse, because we do want to transfer between Eclipses as much as possible. You see, I'm now out of the Eclipse state. I'm going to be transferring back to Moonfire, and then I'm going to refresh the powerful Moonfire. Use the Shooting Stars on cooldown, like this, okay? You can see how that stop casting macro means I can just instantly fire these off. And this is how you AoE with 2 or 3 targets. You can see you get lots of Shooting Stars procs. You want to be spreading them around as much as possible, just to be trying to get those crits on. And very quickly, you'll see you actually transfer between Eclipses nice and easily with 2 or 3 targets. Very, very simple. More powerful dots first, Shooting Stars on cooldown, refresh the other dots, and then keep going. When you're into a lot of mobs, 3+ mobs, your dots actually become really worthless. And one big thing to note is your dots actually aren't a huge source of damage. They're truly not a huge source of damage. They're pretty important, but mainly to be proccing that Shooting Stars, okay? So once we get past 3 targets, you're going to be using things like AoE. Now, you're going to be using your Hurricane or your Astral Storm. Now, again, your AoE as a Moon Kid fucking sucks. It's the one thing about the class that needs fixing is your AoE is absolute garbage, okay? Hurricane and Astral Storm, as fun as they might be just to sort of dribble and just sort of cast it, they fucking suck, okay? They hit for very, very weak. You need to be in an Eclipse. Do not try Hurricaning if you're outside an Eclipse. It's just a total effort for futility. You need to be in some sort of Eclipse to get even remote damage out of this. In most occasions, guys, if the ads are dying far too fucking quickly and you can't get a couple of ticks off at least, you're just going to be ignoring them and continuing your single target rotation. Think about if you're doing sort of Lei Shen, and you get the bouncing balls, but your guild wipes them out in 1 or 2 seconds. Yeah, don't even fucking bother. You might miss out on a little bit of damage, but frankly, it's just not worthwhile. All you do need to be thinking about is if you have big AoE coming, again, this is why this class is so fantastic, is you need to be in an Eclipse state for that. You need to be planning for it. So you need to be thinking all the time, I need to be in this Eclipse state. Can I transfer Eclipses quick enough to get back? More than likely, as your gear progresses, you actually can. A wonderful aspect of this class is that your actual ability to play gets easier the more gear you have. The more critical strike rating you have, again, down to the Shooting Stars proc. Your crit chance on your periodic spells, such as your Moonfire and Sunfire, gives you more Shooting Stars procs. Therefore, you transfer Eclipse faster because they generate more energy, more solar or lunar energy. As such, you're going to have a good old time. If you do have to move around, bear in mind that you have Lunar Shower that's going to increase the damage. So if you have to move, you want to be spamming your primary nuke. Okay, so I'm in Lunar right now, which means my Moonfire. Obviously, you want to keep some fire on. But if you have to move, refresh that Moonfire while you're in that Eclipse, and then come back down for it. Because that is the buffed spell, okay? You're going to take advantage of Lunar Shower, doing a ton more damage while you're in the buffed state of that dot as well. That's the general overview of Moonkin. I've done a big gameplay video. There's a lot to talk about with this one. I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Thanks for tuning in with me. Please try this one out. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.